What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Rambling Garage. Starting out in the storage unit, we still have this thing, unfortunately, kinda. I want to get rid of it, but I'm taking my time, probably get rid of it next spring. I'm hoping we get this house sold, and I need the space for a car for storage this winter. We'll see. The house is still sitting on the market at the time of this video, which, I gotta be honest, this video is probably going to take course over a couple months, so things might be very different by the end of this video. That being said, as you guys can probably figure out by the title, we're going to be doing some engine stuff, or at least I'm hoping. We got a spare, let's turn around. We got a spare 327 here in storage. This thing is a 4-barrel engine. I have all the parts I need to make it good, with the exception of, I think, some valves and springs, but I have rings, I got bearings, I got all that crap. So instead of just letting this thing continue to sit here, I think what we're going to do is get it on a stand that I just bought, and we'll tear it apart little by little over the winter. So I already had this up here. I was going to put it on a different stand that I had. I had a 2,000-pound stand, but that thing was just huge, and I really don't want to use that in the garage, taking up that much space. So I have a 1,000-pound stand now, and we're going to put it on there. So already got it kind of rigged up on here. We're going to throw it in the back of the truck. We're going to take it over there, and I think before that, what we're going to do is I brought some engine degreaser and stuff with me. I'm going to get that all cleaned up. I'll probably plug up the intake holes and stuff like that, but yeah, get that all cleaned up, and so it doesn't look terrible in the garage. But these four-barrel engines have a slightly higher compression and slightly different pistons, so obviously I don't have the intake for this, don't really need it, but want to get this thing running. It is pretty solid. You know, it's dirty, but pretty solid, even has the engine mounts on it still. And I think, I don't remember if this is one or not, one of these that I had a skid plate on the oil pan too, which is cool. Never ran the Fram, I just used that to keep it kind of sealed up. So that's this is it. So probably enough talking here, guys. I'm gonna get it up in the truck, and we'll go from there. Get all the unnecessary things off of it, like we got fuel lines that we don't need. Like, this thing's been sitting for a while. So we got fuel lines. We got a tag here. That's interesting. I want to check that out. Trans cooler lines are over there too. I want to get rid of those. And yeah. All right. Anyways. Gonna move some crap out of the way, back the truck up in here, and get this up in there. And then the fun part is always putting this stupid thing in my truck. It's a backbreaker, so whatever, let's do it. All right, got the hoist saw lift loaded up. That thing wasn't as bad as I remember. This thing, pain in the ass, but it's in here. Got a piece of wood in here so the water pump doesn't dig into the tailgate too much. And yeah, I actually need these hoses down here, I believe. I think these are 3/8, maybe. What do they say? 5/8. That might be a little too big. Whatever. We're grabbing them anyways. So yeah, yep. Cool. We're in there. We're gonna go get this thing sprayed down and hopefully cleaned up a bit as well as we can with the limited space that we have in here. And we'll pick up in the garage. Well, got her all kind of cleaned up. Bunch of gunk on there, but bunch of the nasty stuff is gone. So let her dry off, get her home, and get her on the stand. Well, guys, got it home. I'm gonna bring the Trans Am back in here, but I got it fairly decently cleaned up. Still a bunch of gunk on it, but better than it was. So I got some cleaning up to do. I'm gonna remove these trans cooler lines, probably the fuel lines here, and I don't know, just all the random nonsense on here. So it's my $50 stand, little marketplace find, and there she is. So what we had, just had a strap there. So it's gonna fit well here. Should have plenty of room for the car, plenty of room to get in and out, and yeah, nice set of fits. All right, W6 is back in with this. I was a little nervous. I've never put stuff in this garage before to this capacity, but look at that. Plenty of room to walk right through. Plenty of room to come over here and work on the Rambler if I need to. Get to my jacks, whatever. And my my trickle charger over there. I need to mount that on the wall. But that actually works out very, very nicely. So I got room to disassemble if I want. I do need to get a tray for below. I just realized there's oil in this thing still. It's been sitting sideways in my truck for the last 2-3 days. So it's interesting. But I think step one of this is just going to be pulling this apart, maybe pop the heads off, see what we got in the cylinders, and do kind of a low-key teardown on it and see what everything looks like. I think we have compression. I think everything in that regard is pretty good. So we should have a hopefully fairly solid bottom end on this thing. So I think the goal for this guy is going to be just a standard build. It'd be cool to go like overkill on it, but these heads are just a terrible design. If you're not familiar, they have the Siamese port in the center here. So they just naturally don't flow very well, and in my opinion aren't worth chasing after too much power when, you know, you can go get an LS1 out of the box, you know, like an LQ4 iron block with 350, 400 horsepower for $600. Is this more unique? Absolutely. Is it worth the time and effort? Sometimes I don't think so. So just a factory build, a little, probably not a dingle ball hone. I'll have the machine shop clean up the cylinders, but we'll put new valve springs, pistons, well, not pistons if they're good, but new rings in it, and seal it all up with probably, what else? We can do cam bearings, main bearings, all that. So we'll get all that done. We'll do it all on video, but let's start tearing this thing down a little bit and seeing what it looks like inside. All right, guys, so somewhere between here and storage and washing this thing, I lost my tripod. So bear with me here. What we want to do here, I want to get this excess junk off, get the fuel pump off, get those lines off. These lines are, let's say, pretty much junk, especially since that's not the fuel pump we use in this car. So let's do that. Let's pull the valve covers. The rocker shafts are going to be a good indicator of kind of what kind of condition this this motor is in, wear on the tips and stuff. So we'll take a look at that, and yeah, let's start pulling the junk we don't need. All right, ripped off a few things just to clean it up a bit. We're going to pop the nuts off the water housing, or the water pump housing. Obviously, this was replaced at some point. I don't know if you can hear that. There's either rust in there or the fins are warped or something. That's making a lot of noise. I thought there was a better place to grab on here with the pry bar. Maybe not. Maybe let's put a... No, we'll see. Hold on. All right, there we go. Let's see what we got in here. A little rusty. It's not that bad. It's actually in pretty decent shape. I'm sure the seal is trash, but that looks pretty good too. This thing is dry. I think the only thing in here is some oil. So yeah, let's get an idea. I'll grab this guy. See what the spark plugs look like. Just pop a couple out of there. So we can focus. Actually, doesn't look terrible. Not awful, just old. So I know zero history on this motor outside of that some guy had it. He wanted the intake off of it. It was supposedly a 4-barrel intake or 4-barrel engine. It is painted red, so I hope when we get the pistons open, I think they only have one dash if they're the higher compression pistons, so we'll see. I think these all look pretty consistent. Hold that, I missed that one. Amazing to me that this engine is still free with how rusty it is, but yeah, that one looks pretty good too. I mean, for what it is. None of them look great, but not factory plugs. They got some auto lights in there. I don't think those are factory, so curious to see. I want to get those heads off and see what the pistons look like, or not the pistons, well, I guess the pistons and the walls, but let's also pull this off. Apparently I bent another stud, so we'll have to yank that out. You can see it's not lining up, but let's see what the valve train looks like. I need a pliers to get that off. All right, apologize for any noise. They're building a house next door, but I haven't looked yet. Just prop this up. Let's see. Valve train looks, it's dry. It's got a lot of nastiness in there, but it doesn't look terrible. We'll pop these out on both sides and see what those look like. Let's take a look at this side. I've seen this side already, but it looks pretty, I would say, pretty similar. These rocker shafts are getting hard to find in good shape. What happens is the side that rests on the valve side likes to wear down. A good machinist can probably build that up and flatten them out again, but finding them in good shape is tough. I have 2 extra sets out in the shed, so we should be pretty okay on those. A little curious to see what our push rods look like. These things bend push rods like crazy. Wouldn't be surprised if I have a bent push rod in this, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Let's pop these off real quick and see what those look like. Okay. All right, one thing to take a look at when you're pulling these apart is these 3 bolts are head bolts, but they are also solid, whereas the rear ones on each side should have a hole in them. They're used for oiling. And get it out. There we go. See that? Has an oiling hole. Now, I don't know how long this engine has sat, but the other ones had a lot on them. This one's pretty dry. That is a little concerning to me, at least pertaining to these guys and their condition. We can see how these look a lot more sludged up. They got a lot more junk on them. I would assume that this side does as well. There's a washer here you want to make sure you pull off as you're doing these. So you don't have to take these off in any order as long as you know. You just make sure you have the ones that are in the rocker shaft, which are going to be the longer ones. So I'll pull these out. We'll take a look at that back one as well. All right, so taking a look at these. These are actually, they're in fairly decent shape. They do have some wear, probably indicates a semi-high mileage engine. You look at that one, it's got a little lip on it. That one's got a big lip on it. So a couple of them are worn out. These are in kind of the same spot. So I wonder if that's common on these. I'm not fully sure, but one other thing to note is that these have little sleeves in them here, as you can see there. Do not lose those as you're pulling it apart. Sometimes they stick in the rail, sometimes they stick in the head. They're kind of a pain to get out, but they align things properly. So make sure you have those. You can see over here, these both got stuck in the head. So you don't want to lose those when you take them off to the machine shop. Next thing, pull some push rods. The push rods in that motor were, I think like 6 of them were bent. So if we can do better than that, that'd be kind of cool. And sometimes you can't straight up see if they're bent. They look pretty straight until you roll them, but let's pull these out. Wow, these are so far good usable push rods, which is nice because push rods are kind of expensive once you start adding them all up. Huh. Just need a little cleaning. Are we gonna have all good push rods? This is gonna be a pretty nice motor. Huh. I am impressed if we don't have a single, like, obviously bent push rod. Which means maybe they pulled this motor for something a little more serious. Okay, last one. Wow. So all of these look, at least eyeballing, they look good to me. Nothing's drastically wrong. So that's kind of impressive. Like I said, they're pretty easy to bend in these motors, and a lot of people that I've talked to that have had 327s in the past would actually keep a couple spare push rods in their glove box in case they, out kind of cruising wherever they cruise and they, over rev a little bit. But those look really good, and that's exciting because they'll clean up. They're in decent shape. The tips on these don't look super worn, maybe a little bit, but they're usable. So that's cool. What else we got? I kind of want to pull off the valley cover. I need to make some room, obviously, for the heads before we pull those off. So I'll probably get a container for some of this stuff and kind of put that off to the side. But we'll get these heads popped off. Actually, what I'm going to do is do the water neck first in the alternator bracket here. I won't do that on camera because it's boring. And then we'll pop off the valley cover. We'll see what the cam and stuff look like in this thing. I still need to drain the oil before we go too far. Just flipping it over, I guess, so it doesn't really matter at the moment. I might pop off the motor mounts as well just to clean it up. But I'm kind of pleasantly surprised at how this looks. All the tips of the valves look, yeah, that one looks rough. And that's probably one of the ones that we saw that didn't look so hot on the rocker arm, but the rest of them look really, really good. I thought the same one was in the same spot over here. Yeah. Interesting. So I wonder if that's a common thing on these. Just, right? Was it that one? Yeah, it was. That's different. So good to know. All right, we'll clean some of this junk up and pop this valley cover off and some other stuff. All right, ready to pull the valley cover off. Couple notes. These guys are the studs that go in these. These are not all one piece. These are 2-piece head studs with the studs out of the top for the valve cover. Just grab a pliers and twist them off. They come right off. They're super easy. If they're bent, don't throw them away. You're gonna need them to find a replacement. So they are different on each side, it looks like. So that will be difficult finding a replacement. But hardware store, worst case, probably have somebody on the forums that can find you one. So keep those, and maybe you can even bend it back. I've bent a couple of back. So you see this one's pretty bent. So that one's only bent though on the, I think that's only bent on the rod side. Oh, hard to tell. I don't remember which side came out. Nope. It's bent on that side. So we put it in there, we can tap it down. It'll bend back. These don't have any torque on them. They're not gonna break anything if you try to tap them back. So that's that. Other thing I always do when I'm playing with these engines is, or really when I'm playing with anything, you take your bolts out, either put them in bags and label them, indicate where they came from, or put them back where they came from. So like these guys, the housing crossover, the water pump or thermostat housing crossover, I put back in there. This one's for the alternator bracket. The other alternator bracket one, it comes in here. I put it back. Same with the water pump or the water thermostat housing itself. So put them back when you can. That way you don't lose them, or put them in bags and label them. Or, some of these, keep them near what they go in. Like these are the fuel pump bolts. just be cautious is all. So yeah, let's pop this guy off. These are very, very hard to find that are not warped. So I want to try and get this off carefully, which is going to be very hard. This has been on there for a very long time. And what happens basically is people over torque them. So they'll start to kind of, I don't know, warp down a little bit, I guess. And then they don't seal in the front and the back. And then you end up with leaks. The leaks kind of accumulate down in this little area. And just not good. So let's try and take this one off carefully. And excited to see what this cam looks like and some of the lifters and such. All right, that was a lot easier than I anticipated, actually. There's a couple of pry points that I used just here. I was able to pry. I didn't even bend it. And then just back here, this whole thing has a little overhang. So I was able to pop that off. Like I said, put your nuts kind of where you found them. I think these are the ones that I found, so I'm gonna put the washers with them until I can put them back in. These are threaded rods again, so sometimes you'll have these come out instead of the actual nuts just popping off. Not a big deal. When we put it back together, we'll use Loctite to seal those, kind of put them in place, and then it helps to align. So actually, sometimes it can be easier if that rear one is not on there. As you can see, you get caught up on the distributor there. But let me borrow my other hand real quick. I think I'm gonna need it. Yeah, so give me a second, we'll come back. Oh, I'm recording again. Okay, taking a look in here. This is all, I don't know, feels pretty normal to me. The lifters don't look too hot, so those might be fun pulling out of there. I have to imagine though, like this thing, it turns over and has compression, so either the timing belt is totally destroyed or these are moving at least a little bit. I just have this, I think this is just for like oil dispersion. So note that the spring is on there, the spring is separate and free, so I'll need it again, but looks a little rough in there. So I'm gonna see if I can turn this over by hand, see if those lifters are gonna move. If not, we might have some trouble getting them out. So I spun it and they moved, and you can see like that one got stuck up. So let's see, grab a magnet and see if we can get that out of there. If you can't do it with a magnet, we might need to use a flat head. That one's loose too. I might be kind of in luck here. Sorry, I don't know if I'm even recording this. I'm just trying to see what I'm doing. Oh, that one might be a little stuck. So they have these, I don't know how well you can see them. All the lifters have little retainers for the actual lifter. So if you can get a screwdriver in there and get them popped out, we can see what kind of shape they're in. All right, I finally smartened up and grabbed a work light so I can see what I'm doing. Got these out. Let's take a look at them. These have been the most difficult lifters I've ever pulled out of a motor, but they all actually look pretty good, I think. So that one's nice and flat. You know, they've just been sitting in there, so they have a kind of a rust ridge on them, which gets them stuck at about roughly that point. So can't get that one out, but we will. That one looks good. They have tiny ridges in them. I think this might have been a decent motor. I don't know. You can tell that one was sitting on the cam for quite a while. Now I'm just making it worse. But there's nothing crazy going on there. It's got a little ring on it. Nothing nuts. Same there. I think this motor's in pretty decent shape. It's just old. Again, just kind of resting on the cam there. This one is in there pretty good, so we'll give it a sec to think about its actions. Resting on the cam looks good. You having to use a pick, so this is what I was talking about, is these hydraulic lifters have these little wires that contain the top part of the hydraulic mechanism. So those, I just kind of grab those and they pull out. So if they get stuck, then I'm grabbing a needle nose pliers and pulling them out the rest of the way. So I'll get this one out. I'll get the rest of those guys out. We'll see what kind of condition it's in. I think I'm going to wrap the video up here, and then we're going to do the cylinders and kind of bottom end as a separate part of the video. At some point, we'll be pulling out the cam and flipping this thing over and getting the crank out of there, checking out the mains and all that stuff. So looking at this stuff, though, I have a feeling You know, if it was pulled for a purpose instead of just being old, there's got to be something goofy in the bottom end. I didn't feel it while rotating it, but I don't know. And maybe not. Maybe it's just an older, higher mileage motor. The car kind of rusted away. I did get it out of the Midwest, so that's very possible. But I have no idea where it came from before the guy I bought it from. So I'm going to pop this center divider out. I think those are just a couple of like 3/8 or something that need to come out. But we'll get that out. It'll be a little easier to work on. And probably vacuum all this crap out of there. There's just a bunch of gunk. A lot of this is just the gasket from the valley cover. So most of it wasn't in there while running, I would estimate. But you never know. But you can take a look. Most of the oiling passages look okay. We got some gummed up nonsense back there, so might have some oiling issues on the rear part of the cam. Who knows? Let's pull the rest of these out and we'll see what it looks like. All right, got all the lifters out. A couple of them have little ridges on them, as you can see. Some worse than others, so they're a little tough getting out, but not bad. These lifters are in seriously pretty dang good shape. I'm guessing. So a couple in the rears. These are the rears. They have little, you can see a little bit, they got marks on them and little cylinder circles on them. So they're wearing a little bit, but nothing like super abnormal. I think this was probably, let's see if we can get a good idea of what some of those, can you see that? Kinda, maybe, sorta, definitely there, and the one in the middle on the right. So a little wear, but I think this is probably a pretty good running engine. At least at one point, lifters seem pretty clean, which means that our cam, which if we are going to rebuild this thing, I don't know how well we can see in there with the camera. Let's see if we can get the camera down like in the bore. So there's our cam. Hard to see. Sorry, that was probably dizzying, but cam overall looks to be in good shape. Maybe some surface rust, which is not the end of the world. You know, just clean it up a little bit, reuse it. That's good news. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with how this looks. You know, I got a little rust that's probably more or less from my cleaning and not anything else. I think that's rust. It almost looks like paint in spots, but I think all of our springs look good. I don't see any collapsed springs. All in all, I think this is probably a pretty solid engine. Our next step is going to be getting the front balancer pulley off at some point, seeing what everything looks like from a timing chain perspective. These have issues where the timing gear had plastic teeth on them to be quieter, and it eventually goes to hell and jumps timing and everything. But I'm not really seeing evidence of that today. I think we would have seen some bent push rods and stuff. So I don't know. I think this is probably just a well-running motor that was pulled from a car that was probably a little more rotted out than somebody wanted to deal with. So I think in the next video what we're going to do is probably pop the heads off. We'll see what the actual pistons look like. You know, we could take a look down in there and see in some of them. I don't know. We're going to check them out though. We'll pop that out. We'll get the distributor off. Maybe we'll get this off, check out the timing setup, and if everything in there is looking good, we'll flip her over and start pulling pistons out of it. I'd kind of like to get this block out to the machine shop and painted before it gets too cold out, but we'll see. This is honestly not a high priority of mine. This video might, the series might take place over the course of a couple months, maybe a year. I don't really know, but we'll get shorts videos in between. Little updates as I get stuff from the machine shop. The next video could be a little bit, but we'll see. All in all, though, I think we have a pretty clean motor here. So you guys will have to let me know what we should do with this one. I am a little undecided. I wanted to put it in here, but I've got that thing running well now. There was a tick, which I think is timing related. I think I have that sorted out, so I don't really need this, but I have all the parts for it. We might as well build it. I don't know. Maybe somebody will need it. We'll see. I think it would be cool to get it built, get it on a dyno, and just do an engine dyno on and see kind of what it makes, do the break-in on the dyno, stuff like that. So that's my wish, my dream. We'll see if we actually get to it. All right, guys, that's going to be a wrap of video one with the AMC 327. We got it out of storage. We got it cleaned up, kinda. It's in here. We're getting it pulled apart little by little. I've got some cleaning up to do, making some space for the next video, and then we'll see what the important stuff looks like. All in all, taking a look at lifters, they look pretty solid. These almost look like you could probably run them again. I'm not going to do that. They're cheap. but they look like they're in good shape. Probably didn't have much for noise. The rockers look good, except a little wear here and there. And yeah, I don't know. I think we got a pretty solid engine here. Curious to see if it's a real 4-barrel or not. That's kind of a big deal to me, but it's just a little compression, so it's not the end of the world. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about this little mini-series. Should we keep it going? Should we give up on this thing? What do you want to see? So thanks, guys. See you in the next video.